Guild Wars 2 and Kung Fu Tea are currently collaborating to bring you awesome in-game rewards and the best bubble tea the market has to offer. Kung Fu Tea prides themselves with their unwavering dedication to provide the best tasting bubble teas to all who have a craving. Use Kung Fu Tea's mobile app to create your own account, peruse the menu, and gain special rewards today. Take yourself on over to one of Kung Fu Tea's many establishments and experience the Kung Fu spirit. Visit Kung Fu Tea's website for further information at www.kungfutea.com. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Guild Wars 2 rating video. For this video, I'm going to attempt to craft a basic overview of the very first boss of Mythwright Gambit, the Conjured Amalgamate. I will first notify you all of the very crucial mechanics for the Conjured Amalgamate, and then go into the mechanics of the fight and how the crucial mechanics weave into the flow of the boss's attacks. Afterwards, I will give off some pointers for players who are just stepping in and are feeling a little nervous. And with that little introduction given, let's jump on into the fight. Firstly, I would like to talk about the two most important mechanics that I feel new players should be definitely aware of. These two mechanics are actually adds that you have to deal with during the fight, these being the Conjured Greatsword and the Conjured Shield adds. Firstly, I like to cover the Conjured Greatsword because it seems to be a little bit more simple. The Conjured Greatswords are fairly manageable enemy NPCs that are spawned from the Conjured Amalgamate. Once the raid squad has killed a Conjured Sword, it will leave an obtainable item on the ground. This item will activate the special action hotkey and can be activated to use the sword against the enemies and boss. The sword is capable of breaking the Conjured Amalgamate's shield and adding a debuff which increases the damage it receives. I'll further explain the shield and damaging phase when I get into the boss's mechanics. Next up are the Conjured Shields. Now, if players stand near or on top of the shields, pulses of damage and conditions will be applied to them. Do not stand near them if you can, as it will make your healers have an easier time. Likewise to the Conjured Greatsword, once the shield is killed, it drops an obtainable item on the ground, which, when picked up, activates the special action hotkey. When activated, a large AoE ring will spawn around the player who used it. When inside, players will receive less damage. Now, this less damage mechanic comes in handy when the Conjured Amalgamate enters phases and likes to do a lot of damage. Now, I'd like to quickly mention, for both of these pickups, players can pick up multiple charges of the Greatsword or Shield. Now, the more pickups/charges one has, the more potent its active skill will be. Now that we got the two most crucial points out of the way, let's move on to the actual boss fight and the boss's mechanics. Now, the raid squad won't be fighting the Conjured Amalgamate directly just yet. The raid squad will need to defeat the Conjured Amalgamate's arms in order to attack the main body/head. When one arm is defeated, the boss will take 10% damage to its total health pool. While both the left and right arms are alive, the Conjured Amalgamate will be able to use a skill known as Thunderclap, which is telegraphed by the Conjured Amalgamate clapping in the air. The damage is enough to down all raid members, and must be negated by using the Conjured Shield special action, healing, or barriers. Remember how I mentioned the Conjured Shield to reduce damage when the Conjured Amalgamate likes to do a lot of damage? Yes, this would be one of those times to use it. Once one arm is defeated, the Conjured Amalgamate will shield itself and siphon into it damaging orbs and more Conjured Greatswords and Shields. The Greatswords are viewed as an orb with a line going through it, and the shields an orb with a bubble around it. After some time passes and all the orbs are siphoned in, the Conjured Amalgamate will spew out a wall which does massive damage. The raid squad will need to stack together, and players with the Conjured Shield special action will need to use it to reduce the damage taken. It is during this phase that players will be able to use the Conjured Greatsword special action in order to break the Conjured Amalgamate's shield. And after this, the boss will lie down for a little nap. while of course the raid squad deals as much damage as they can. While only one arm is functional and the other has recently been defeated, the Conjured Amalgamate will not be able to use Thunderclap. Instead, he will call down rubble from the ceiling. The squad will need to watch where they stand to negate damage. Once the next arm is defeated, rinse and repeat the previous siphoning stage. Once the boss reaches 25% health, he will slam down both arms, but only at half health each. More adds will be spawning, thunderclaps will go off, and rubble will be falling. Basically, all the previous mechanics will be combined into one big phase. Keep the heals/barriers up, and don't be afraid to do big damage numbers, and eventually you'll whittle him down to 0% health. Now that I got all the formalities out of the way, I'm going to give you some of my thoughts and impressions and maybe a couple tips for beginners. So as you can see in the background, I am doing this on a barrier/support Scourge, and I had a lot of fun. And I did notice, and I'm 99.8% sure, that the barrier will also be consumed when the Conjured Amalgamate will spew the treasure wall, which does a lot of damage. So applying barrier and keeping protection and ages up will definitely help throughout the fight. Other than that, I'd also like to quickly mention that if you don't kill the conjured shields or the conjured greatswords in time, they end up colliding together, creating a conjured warrior, and they become a little bit more difficult to fight. I think our group still managed to get through it by killing them, but I'm not too sure if they have more damage or if they do, or if they have more health. So that's something to keep your mind on just in case. Other than that, I played with a support firebrand and I had a lot of fun on there as well. Mostly I've just played pure support on this fight, and I had a pretty good run. So overall, I'd say the Conjured Amalgamate is a pretty simple boss to get into. It's definitely one of the beginner bosses that I say fits the beginning of a raid. It isn't super difficult and it isn't a cakewalk necessarily. It introduces you to mechanics and the overall mood of raiding in general in Guild Wars 2. And I think they did a fantastic job. While I close this video, I like to mention that I recently killed the second boss of this raid, and I'm going to be working on a guide for that relatively soon once I get this one out. So everyone, thank you so much for watching. Comment down below if I missed anything in particular, or if you want to give off some more tips for players. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe for more Guild Wars 2 content, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye everyone! Oh my god, I remember this portion where our raid took a picture of it. It was so nice. Anyway, bye everyone! Mwah. Down below, I have links to all things Guild Wars 2 for free-to-play players and expansion players alike. So if you or a loved one are interested in playing Guild Wars 2, check the links down below and begin your adventure in Tyria today. See you in game!